So, let's dive into a question that sounds super simple, but is actually surprisingly deep. Where does our sense of self even come from? We all walk around feeling like there's this constant I right at the center of our being, but what if I told you that I isn't always there, that it actually comes and goes? Let's explore how that could possibly be true.
This whole thing really kicks off with a mystery, and it doesn't start with some complicated theory. Nope, it starts with a simple observation that you can make for yourself right here, right now.
No, really, think about it for a second. When you're just sitting there, totally quiet, with nothing to do, nobody to talk to, where's that feeling of I? Is it as loud and solid as when you're, say, arguing a point you're passionate about? Or does it kind of soften, maybe even fade out a little bit? See, this isn't just a cool philosophical thought. The idea here is that this is a direct observation of how we experience the world. The I isn't just sitting inside us 24/7 waiting. It's triggered. It literally only shows up in response to an encounter with something or someone else.
So, the big takeaway here is that our sense of self might not be a permanent fixture at all. It could be more like a light that switches on and off. And if that's true, it begs a huge question. What's the switch? What's the mechanism that flips it on? Let's get into it.
All right, this brings us to the core idea, the insight that explains this whole disappearing act of the I.
The concept is called the boundary phenomenon, and it's pretty wild. The idea is that our sense of I isn't a thing we have, it's an event that happens. And it happens right at the boundary where our awareness makes contact with an other, and that other could be another person, an object, or hey, even just a thought.
And this just lays out the two states so clearly, right? On one side, in isolation, there's just this field of being. There's no clear separation, so there's no need to define an I. But boom, in an interaction, a boundary forms. A you appears. And in that exact moment of separation, the I is born.
Okay, so if the I just pops up at a boundary, what does that process actually look like? Let's walk through the steps of how this self is born in the heat of the moment, during an encounter.
Okay, here's how it goes. It starts with that quiet state, that pure existence, no I to be found. Then, step 2. An encounter happens. You meet a you. Instantly, a boundary is created. Your senses fire up. Then your mind layers on thoughts and emotions. And finally, from the center of all that activity, the I emerges.
You see, the I becomes the central hub that organizes everything that's happening. It's the point of view that claims the whole experience. It's that little voice in your head that says, this perception, this memory, this feeling, this is happening to me. It's the anchor point that makes a response possible.
So if the self isn't some solid thing but a process that's triggered by interaction, what does that actually mean for us? Let's dig into the pretty powerful implications of seeing ourselves this way.
The source material puts this so beautifully. The I is the echo of separation. Think about that. It isn't the original sound. It's the reverberation that comes back when our awareness hits a wall, a boundary. Without that initial collision, there's just silence. No echo. No I.
This totally flips that classic philosophical idea on its head. We all know, I think, therefore I am, which puts the self right inside our own skull. But this new observation suggests something way more relational. I appears because I meet you. Our identity isn't built in isolation, it's sparked by interaction.
And this just makes so much sense in our day-to-day lives, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. When does your sense of self feel the strongest? It's usually when you're being challenged, or you feel like you're being seen or judged, or you're comparing yourself to someone else. Even just hearing your name called. In those moments of contact, that I just snaps right into focus.
And on the flip side, think about those moments when the self just seems to melt away. When you're completely lost in an activity, that amazing state of flow, or during deep meditation, or just being quietly aware of your surroundings. In those moments, the boundary dissolves, and with it, that strong, sharp sense of I.
So where does this leave us? If our I is so fragile, so dependent on contact, then who are we really?
And this is where it gets really profound. What if this I, this identity that we spend so much time and energy building up and defending, what if it isn't the core of who we are at all? What if it's just a temporary tool, a response mechanism that shows up for an interaction and then, poof, dissolves again?
This offers a whole new way of seeing things. Maybe our true nature isn't the I that appears and disappears. Maybe we're the silent field in which it appears. We're not the echo. We're the silence that allows the echo to even happen.
where the awareness where all these encounters and boundaries and identities get to play out.
So, I'm going to leave you with a question to take with you. Kind of a little experiment. The next time you feel that sharp, distinct sense of me rising up inside you, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, what boundary was just touched? Who or what did I just meet? Because in that moment of pure awareness, you might just catch yourself in the very act of being born.